Well, I'm in a little bit of a different stage. I spent some time stripping and cleaning and coating the bottom of the car. It looks great. It's just got some epoxy primer on it for right now. The plan is to put some KBS undercoating on the bottom side of the car, but I don't have everything I need to do that. So in the meantime, I'm spending a little time focusing on the panel gaps. The trunk lid fit way better than I even expected it to. And while it's not perfect, it's pretty dang good. So I'm debating with myself whether I want to cut into this to get it right perfect at that 3/16 mark. Here's my precise 3/16 thickness measuring gauge. And if I walk this through here, it is just so close. Maybe it's not a 16th, it's not a full quarter right there, but it's probably an extra 32nd. And then right through here, looks good. And then the same thing right here. I've got a little bit of extra, but not much until right here, where now I'm right at exactly the 3/16. So if there is anything that I want to do, it's probably right here. Over on this side of the car, things work out pretty well. Again, I've got maybe an extra 32nd up there at the top. Things look really good, even just a little tight right here around the curve. And then all the way down through here, I'm right on that 3/16, maybe an extra 32nd as well. The point is that things are close enough that most of us would never know the difference. The process, if I decide I want to close the gaps up a little bit, is to cut a relief cut right along the edge of the quarter, right through here. Put this exactly the spot where I want it, and then weld it back up, grind it smooth. It's not a huge undertaking, but it's enough that you really have to want it to be willing to do it. The door gaps actually look really good. The driver door is almost exactly 3/16, and the passenger door is actually too tight, but I know I can push that whole door forward and open up the gap to where it needs to be. The alignment on it is good, it's just a little too tight. The other thing to consider is this. The shape of the quarter panels right here where the trunk lid and the quarter meet the tail panel is not quite perfect. This is the tightest gap point. Similar situation on the other side. I'm actually thinking that while on this side it's a little bit off, it's not much, on this side the trunk comes just shy of the quarter panel. If I line up the gap up here where I want it, the trunk feels like it's just a little bit too short. But the closer observation reveals that the shape of the quarter panel right here is just a little bit off. And so I do think I'm going to make a relief cut right here. Fold the quarter panel forward just a little bit. It will make it match the other side better, and it will make it match the contour of the trunk lid as well as the depth of the trunk lid. So there is a little bit of work to be done there. The rest of this, though, gosh, the guy has to really want it to put the effort into cleaning that up because it's pretty darn clean already. It's also worth noting that this car has a spoiler, and when the spoiler goes on, quite a little bit of that gets hidden. Now, for the record, I am not about hiding imperfections. That's not the point. The point is that there's quite a bit of work that can go into doing something that may never be seen. So I kind of need your input. Is it worth making the cuts and changing the gap to gain that maybe 16ths, maybe 3/32 difference? Meanwhile, I have bare metal exposed on this car and I kind of don't like it. It's not a big deal. I'm in a dry climate in the winter indoors. And so it's not like I'm expecting flash rust to overcome the car all over the place, but I still don't like it. So I need to get the bare metal covered up. I also want to do the seam between the roof and the quarter panel. Originally, this was done with lead or some kind of a lead alloy. Today, while there is still some lead work done in a synthetic type of a lead replacement, it's not as common. And with what I've got going on here, the joint is largely filled with weld, so it's not all that deep in the first place. Secondly, the kinds of compounds we have available to us today in body fillers is so much better than anything we've had over the years that I think the best way to do this is to put a base fill with this metal-based filler, and then to cover that up with a fiberglass reinforced filler that is much more sandable. So before I put that on there, I don't want to put it on bare metal. I need to get some epoxy primer down. I know I'm a little bit upside down, because if I'm going to do some cutting on the metal, you really don't want to have it all primed. But at the same time, in order to move forward in a few other areas, like putting the filler in the seam, I need to get those areas primed. So I'm going to go ahead and hit all of the bare metal spots with the epoxy primer. And then I'm going to get some filler in the seam. And then after that's set, do just a little bit of cleanup on it and put a fiberglass reinforced filler on top of that that will be much more sandable to get the final shape. Well, how fortuitous. Look what showed up today. I think I'm ready to spray. I've never used this before, so I don't know exactly what to expect. It's a little thinner than I anticipated. It's not as thin as paint, and maybe about the same consistency as a primer. I don't know. I guess we'll see. It sprays through the Schutz gun that has a, what, 1/4 inch nozzle or so. And since I don't know how far it's going to go, the package says it'll cover, theoretically, 25 to 30 square feet. I'm going to focus on the most important areas first, which to me would be the wheel wells. Because I don't know how it's going to act, I'm going to spray something that's a little more discreet first. The area that's hidden under the gas tank seems like a pretty good candidate to me. So I'll hit that a little bit first, move my way around into the wheel wells, because I think those are the highest priority item, and see how the coverage goes from there. That pressure might be a little high. I'm running at about 75. The gun says it'll operate between 45 and 100 and something, but boy, that just feels like it's too much. It's better. Bring it down a little bit more. It's leaving a textured finish, which I expected and appreciate. I want that. It's actually a little thinner than I thought it would be, and I used a quart and covered almost everything once. I got this wheel well. I didn't quite finish that wheel housing, but I think I got almost, well, I didn't get across the bottom of here either. So 1 quart was not enough to cover the car once. That tells me that I need probably 2 more quarts. And the guy might even go through a whole gallon if he really wanted to lay it on thick, which I kind of do. I think it helps eliminate some of the tinny sound that you can end up with in these cars. So, well, I'll order some more. Finish that up. Meanwhile, I guess it's back to sanding.